What's up, everybody? Ryan Lee Productions here again. Okay, today we're going to do some work on the old TDI over there. So I'm going to be doing the Dieselgeek EGR valve and the EGR cooler delete. And here's my little fancy race pipe. It's with the boost gauge nipple thing already installed, so it's ready to go. Alright, this line, or this hose I should say, is for to reroute the coolant passages after you delete the EGR cooler. So I've never done one of these before, so I guess we'll find out when we get there, but should be pretty fun. And of course you got these block off plate, and this is for I think on the exhaust manifold or somewhere. I'm not quite sure. So like I said, we'll find out when we get there, and it'll be cool. So what I'm going to do here first is I think I'm going to go ahead and start taking apart the intake. Next I'm going to be taking off, I think, the old hockey puck. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect and get that out of the way and go from there. Okay, so what I did next is I took off this clamp that was right here connected to this hose for the EGR valve, and moved it back here. But go ahead and pull this one off. Gotta break the seal there. Okay, and then this line that goes on top of the EGR valve had a one-time use only clamp on it, so I just took a pair of side cuts and pulled it off there, and gonna pull that off. So okay, so what I did next is I took off this hose that connects the EGR valve to the upper intercooler pipe right here. This big long black piece here. All I did was take the channel locks and grab onto one of these clamps and kind of move it back here, and simply pull it off. You had to break the seal and pull that off. With that way, I got much more better access to the EGR cooler down there. You can see part of it right there, but we'll get to that. I want to show you that this diaphragm right here. A good shot here. That diaphragm, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, the diaphragm right there. It operates the butterfly valve here in the EGR valve right here. If you can see it work right here. Okay, see that? Okay, so that runs off vacuum, obviously. So the next step is to take this line that it's running from it and goes to this, they're calling it a shut-off solenoid. As I figured I'd just cut it right here. That way I can easily block it off and save a lot of hassle. Now I have to remove the three 5mm Allen bolts to get this EGR valve out. There's one right there, and there's one on the other side and one on the bottom. Okay, I ran into a little bit of a roadblock here. Let me show you what's going on. Now I took off the other two 5mm Allen heads, one right here, one right here. But this one on the bottom, let's see if I can get a good shot. That one right there, it is being blocked by the EGR cooler. This, I'm going to call it the neck of the EGR cooler. I can't get a straight shot on this Allen head to take it off. So what I'm going to have to do is I already have this loosened, but it was two 6mm Allen heads, and you can see that one right there. I just loosened that. So I'm going to basically take off this neck so I can gain access to this this last 5mm Allen head, so I can take the EGR valve out forever. Alright, well, I just removed that, and to be honest with you, I'm not really surprised. This is the intake manifold right here. It's behind the EGR valve. Now this right here is exactly why that me and everybody else that's done this puts in a race pipe and wants to delete the EGR system because of this right here. That is just unacceptable. So it looks like a coal miner's lungs to me, and honestly, I didn't think it was going to be this bad, but here it is right there. Now, I really didn't want to do this, but I might have to steam clean it and run it through a solvent tank to fully clean this out, because there's a lot of passages in here. I mean, you can't really tell now until I get the whole thing off, but that's just terrible. So if you're wondering why I'm doing this, or surely if you clicked on this video you know why, but that is just, there's no reason for that. So I also want to show you the EGR valve that I just took off. Now it is almost just as bad. Let me get some good lighting. Yeah, it's not so good either. This definitely won't be going back in the car. Alright, well, we're getting closer. Okay, I went ahead and took off the intake pipe that goes straight to the turbo inlet. I went ahead and took that off, and I got it out of the way. Just for that reason. Just I didn't necessarily need to take it off, but I did anyway, just to get it out of my way. I like having space to work. Anyways, I just got done taking off the 3 coolant lines that go to the EGR cooler. There's the smaller one right here that was on the top, and there's this big one right here that was on the right side. And also there was, let's see if I can find it, this, you can see that, there's, can you see that one right there, yeah, that one right there. So there's 3 of them, and all I used was my channel locks. Took a little bit of a finagling to do, but it's doable. Well, as you can see, she's all out now. So, fought me to the bitter end, boys. Had a feeling it was going to, but so let me give you the lowdown on what's going on here. Yeah, okay, these are the 3 5mm Allen bolts I had to take out. Now, this one right here, the one that was on the would be the right side, damn near got rounded out. So luckily I was able to get it out, but this one fought me like real bad. But yeah. Alright, well, here's the EGR cooler in its entirety. Okay, so what we got going on here is, here's the flange that goes to the exhaust manifold. So what happens is the exhaust gases come up in through here and come into the cooler itself. Now this pipe right here, and also this little pipe right here, and this one are all coolant passages. So it's hollow in here. So let me show you. Shit. Yeah, right here, you see all those tubes? Okay, so coolant like kind of swims around in there, around those tubes. Alright, this thing's full of coolant, which by the way, as you can see, I lost a shitload of coolant. There's even more under the car. But yeah, so anyways, it goes in through here, all the coolant does, and all these pipes is where the exhaust gas goes through. So I guess in theory, you know, the exhaust gas comes in through here. It goes in through the cooler, and they use the coolant to cool the EGR, or I'm sorry, to cool the exhaust. And then it goes up this neck here, and of course the neck connects to this bottom part of the EGR valve, and that's whenever it gets recirculated back into the intake manifold, and that's where it gets all clogged up. So pretty insane. Yeah, quite a little bit of soot there. I could have left this in here in the car, but I chose not to, just because of the sake of you know, if a component's not being used, to me it has no business being in there. So I took it out, and at least that way it'll make it easier for gaining access to the turbocharger if I ever need to. In fact, this spring I think I'm going to be doing 3-inch turbo back exhaust on this, so hopefully it'll make it easier on me. Of course, no guarantees, but sounds good anyway. So there you have it. EGR cooler, EGR valve in the dumpster. Well, I finally got the intake manifold off. Yeah, it's pretty crummy, pretty clogged. Some of the other 4 ports, they're not so good either. I don't know if you can see that or not, but sure, there's probably been a lot worse, but I'm going to go ahead and clean her out anyway. And no, I'm sorry to say there won't be an entertaining video of me using compressed air and a torch. I guess this is cast aluminum. I really don't want it to warp, and even if some of you guys may say that I don't have to worry about that happening, it's really not worth the risk to me. So I'm either gonna put it in a solvent tank, or I'm gonna put it in a steam cleaner. So I got my intake all clean. I want to show you guys how good it turned out. See all the individual intake ports here. It looks brand new. I'm very happy with the way it turned out. Yeah, especially this part. You saw what it looked like before. Now that looks real good to me. So the car should be breathing real good. Should be inhaling the way it's supposed to. I was getting about 37 miles per gallon the last couple of tanks of fuel, so I'm hoping I'll be able to break 40. So we'll see what happens with that. Okay, now that that's all clean, I want to show you guys the next step for the install, or I should say delete. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take, first of all, we're going to take this line. Okay, so what we're going to do with this is we're going to take this big line. It's got this metal stuff over it. I should probably reuse that, but okay, this coolant line, now it's connected to, it's got a plastic flange here on the firewall. Let me zoom up on that. Okay, so we're going to take that off, and as you can see, this coolant line I should say, has it. So it's all we're going to do is replace that line with this, and it's going to connect to this line. We're going to take this line out, and it connects right here. If you guys can see that here. It's right below this T right here. If you can see that right here. We're going to be taking this loose, connecting it here. Now, from what they're saying, this is to the cylinder head. You can kind of see how it's connected to the cylinder head. If I get the lighting right. So yeah, right there. So apparently this is where they're talking about it connects to the cylinder head. So you're just basically bypassing where the EGR cooler was, and you're taking it straight into the cylinder head. Now, of course, now that the EGR cooler is not there. Well, I want to show you how you exactly go by getting this off, because it's rather important that you do it right, because the last thing you want to do is to crack that coolant line right there that goes into the firewall. Would not be good. So how I went by getting that one off, or I should say this, the one that was on it. See how it's keyed right like that? Okay, so basically it only goes on there one way. And let's see, if it's attached on like this. Get a good shot here. Okay, so it's attached on here like this. All you had to do, okay, it was on there like that. You got to pull pretty hard, but just pull out. You don't have to twist it. It's not threaded or anything. You know, it's lined up just like that. Boom. Take a little bit of elbow grease, but just pull it straight out. There's a little O-ring in there. And yeah, wasn't a real big deal. Now this is the new line that I showed you earlier. Just going to go ahead and put this on here now. I showed you how to orient it earlier. Same thing for this one. Just kind of put it in there, and hopefully it'll lock down. Oops. Just like that. Heard the click. Okay, there's a, well, first you gotta take, before you even take it out, you have to take this clip out, which is real easy. Just put your fingernail in there and just so. So that's in there. Now, I was meaning to say earlier, I oriented the coolant line so I knew it'd come into this other end without any problems. So I hooked that into here, into that flange where it goes into the cylinder head. Push it in as best as you can. Okay. Now I'm going to get in there with my channel locks and put this clamp on it. This hose clamp, just to make sure. And what makes it nice is it looks like it's already marked, so where exactly to put the clamp. So hopefully we won't get any leaks toward the end. Go from the firewall right there down through some coolant lines and some other lines, and ends right there. They're calling that the cylinder head, where it goes into it. So right there. Let me zoom out. So you have a good idea about where that's going. Okay, so the next step is this smaller line that I showed you earlier about going and installing this piece here. So I already took the clamp off and moved it back further in here so I could get this line loose from the T. So there's no opening here on this plastic part that kind of that the hose kind of uses as a perch. So what you got to do is you just got to run it through and out of the way, like so. Okay, then just simply take it off. Okay, just like that. Okay, so with that done, what we gotta do is of course take these two clamps off and get rid of this T, and then that's when you take this piece and just put them together. So real easy, not a big deal. Okay, so here it is whenever I got done. It literally only took me like 1 minute. Yeah, like I said, just remove the T piece and put that bar fitting that came in your kit, put it in here in the these in between these coolant lines. Now, so the next step that I had to make sure that I did not forget was to plug this line, the vacuum line that went to the EGR valve. All I really did was just take a regular bolt that we got out of the bolt bin and plugged it that way. I've seen it done this method many times. It was fat enough diameter where I'm pretty confident that it's going to block this off real good. And then also this really tiny line that came off, or I should say that goes into, they're calling this the shutoff solenoid. Not real sure why, but that's what they're calling it. But again, I just took a really small screw and put it in there, real nice and tight fit. So I'm pretty confident that you won't get any vacuum leaks. Okay, next order of business is to take the block off plate from the kit and install it here on the exhaust manifold. And you're blocking off the port that was on the EGR valve and was right here. So you're blocking that off for good. So what you do with that is, or just say what I'm going to do, is I'm going to reuse one of these metal gaskets. I'm going to put it on top. Okay, and then I'm going to put the little paper gasket that came with the kit, and put that on top. And then here's my block off plate. Now yours will just be just a regular aluminum block off plate. Now this right here is my little fitting for my EGT probe. Now I want to explain to you my logic of thought on this is I thought a lot about it, and I figure it'd be better to install it here on this block off plate, because not only is it not so permanent, but at least that way I don't have to worry about drilling into my exhaust manifold and worrying about chips getting into my turbo. So I don't have to worry about any of that. And with the probe itself interfering with anything. Now keep in mind, I do have a lot of room back here now that the EGR cooler is gone. But at the same time, I just felt like this was the better option, at least in my opinion. Some of you may disagree, but that's okay. Okay, so I just tightened down my two 12 millimeter nuts. Then also there, you might be able to see it, yeah, right there. There's a 1/4 inch little set screw that you tighten down the EGT probe in. You see the little black set screw right there. If I can get it to focus. Yeah, that set screw right there. Yeah, just simply tighten down. It was a 1/4 inch. And I oriented my my little EGT probe the best way I could. In another video, I'm going to be doing the gauges, but there's the rest of it. So I just got to figure out how that's going to get routed into the cab and all the other details. But I figured it'd be a good time to put the probe in right now while I had full access to it. That way it'll save me a lot of trouble and time later. So just got done putting on the intake manifold. It was kind of a pain in the ass, but that's alright. Got her done. Those are 6 millimeter Allen heads for that on the back side. A lot easier to put back on now that that EGR cooler isn't sitting there. I also want to point out that I put on that solenoid, the shutoff solenoid, with these two 5 millimeter Allen bits, or Allen bolts, or whatever you want to call them. I just finished putting on the turbo pipe right there. These clamps down there are kind of a little hard to get there at the turbo, but totally doable. A little persistence goes a long way. But this line right here is for the wastegate. Just make sure to put them here in these little holders so they don't touch anything hot or rub it on anything. Also put together the crankcase breather. So next, I think we're ready to put the actual race pipe on, and then go from there. One thing I want to point out before I put this on, do not forget to put on this O-ring here that comes with your kit. It is on the back side here. It's not on the front like the like on the EGR valve. So just keep that in mind. You know, that could be potentially something easy to forget, but just make sure that you put that on. Okay, so the bolts that are with it will come with the kit are 5 millimeter, and there's 3 of them. And I just wanted to point out that the ones that come with the kit are considerably longer than the ones that come off the EGR valve. So you will need to use these longer ones, and yeah, so just be sure not to lose them. So you finish tightening this down, real nice and snug. Okay. Looks real nice under there, don't it? Okay, so after that, we're pretty much at the last step. You want to take your intercooler, your boost pipe is what I've heard they're called. Go ahead and put that on this end, and there's your 2 clamps that come with it. And yeah, you get the idea. So the very last part of the installation, or I should say delete, the coolant that I lost, and I can't express to you how much I think I lost. I lost quite a bit. So just try to replace the coolant that you lost. What I'm going to do is take a bottle of water and then match the same amount with the G12 coolant I have. Well, folks, there you have it. There's a final touch right there. Pretty fairly simple install. You know, I'd recommend it for anybody that has some regular basic hand tools, and if you're at least a little bit mechanically inclined, then I think you'd have no problem doing it. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or anything, do a comment, like or subscribe to me. I really appreciate it.